Fall 2017 has been a particularly awesome season. So many amazing shows have come out this season that I've yet to do a video on. So today, I want to talk about a show that just came to an end this week, and probably the most underrated anime of the season. Recovery of an MMO Junkie. The show is about a 30-year-old woman named Morika Moriko, as she quits her job to become a NEET. She then turns to an online game called Fruits de Mer, which, as you can guess from the title of the show, is an MMO RPG. I generally would stay a mile away from any show with a premise like this. It's kind of boring and uninteresting, but I decided to watch the first episode anyway and was hooked. The way the MMO world was designed, along with all the lovable characters, made this lighthearted romantic comedy one of my favorite shows of the season. So today, I want to talk about why you should watch Recovery of an MMO Junkie. A lot of light novel writers are obsessed with creating anime inside of video games, but rarely do we see a show do it so well. Oh, by the way, MMO Junkie is based off a webcomic and not a light novel. Figured it would be a good measure before getting assaulted in the comments section. I think the main difference between the author of this show and the author of most other shows we've seen about gaming is that I feel like the creator of MMO Junkie really does play MMOs. There are countless occasions of common MMO tropes occurring in-game. One that I was completely caught off guard by was the use of the greed sensor. SJ boxes and gas shops are built into every MMO, but the greed sensor is different. This is an inside joke among the MMO community, and to see it be put into the show really blew my mind. There's even comments about the clothing system where girls have thousands of different outfits and guys are relegated to 20 or so. You can tell that the creator of the show really is an MMO junkie, which is pretty awesome. Another part of the world design I want to talk about is the difference between the game world and the real world. The show does an excellent job of dividing these two locations at the start, having the real world be this bluish color and depressing while the game world was gorgeous and full of color. But as the show progresses, something interesting changes. The more Moriko interacts with the real world, the more colorful the real world is, going as far as them combining the two worlds in a scene in the final episode. Also, to follow up on that, there is even a scene where Sakurai tells Moriko to look at the moon, and she instinctively looks at the one in-game, and is not impressed by it. Sakurai corrects her to look outside of her window, and for the first time we see her wowed by something that she sees in the real world. This is some incredible attention to detail, and the fact that it evolves over the entirety of the series really shows just how much work was put into this singular idea. Now, I can't mention this show without mentioning the intro, but first I need to confess something to you guys, which is going to trigger a lot of you. I don't really like intros. Personally, I feel like they are forced and often give up way too many spoilers on the series, so I almost always watched the intro of the first episode, then promptly skipped it for the remainder of the show. I know, I'm in the minority here, but this is just my personal preference. However, holy crap, the intro of MMO Junkie is incredible. I'm sure Jeff will do a video on it eventually, but the subtle use of foreshadowing, the movements, the music, and the reveal of some of the heavier tones of the show, it's just so good. Like, watch it, please. And the final thing I want to talk about is the characters. Now, the show would be nothing without its lovable cast. The four main characters, Moriko, Sakurai, Kanbei, and Kawai. Kawai being the generic best friend to Sakurai who helps him meet Moriko, and Kanbei being the guy who accidentally solves everything. Essentially, they're all tied in this weird net of confusion that only ends up making the show even funnier. Nevertheless, the show is lighthearted, but it's often not afraid of hitting some pretty tough subjects, one of the major ones being Moriko's hatred of herself. A large portion of the show, she denies any of Sakurai's advances because she assumes he must be mistaken due to her bad outlook on herself. Another concept briefly mentioned is the idea of gender roles. This one is not as heavy-handed, but in a large amount of the scenes, the characters try to reflect on how they are acting and try to revert to the other genders since they are both playing opposite genders online. This is honestly some brave stuff for a 10-episode romantic comedy to hit, but they did it anyway. I do want to clarify that it never really drags on these subjects. These are more so there as subtle reminders of the larger issues that the two will be forced to face in the future. Other than that, the show is just so well rounded that I had to do a video on it. I recommend everyone try watching this show and enjoying the love and care put into it by the author. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. A special thanks to all of my patrons. You guys are my Sakurais. If you're interested in supporting the channel or just some special perks, I'll have a link to my Patreon in the description down below. Make sure you guys share, like, comment, and subscribe. This is Manime Matt. Make sure you guys say, man, go watch that goddamn anime!